saw it on the news today. A soldier has come home. Surprise a little family today. We're finally holding home. And they're standing by your side every time you call. Yes, they're standing by your side every time you call.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Slice. My name is Bill Peters. I'll be your host. I was talking about doing live shows before and had a bit of a problem. I upgraded a bunch of stuff. I got new hardware, new software. The problem still remains that when the video signal gets to YouTube, it's garbled, it's slow, it's behind by 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes to even get there. So, I've decided instead of having live interviews, I'll announce guests a week ahead of time. You folks can send me your questions, and I'll give a brief synopsis of what the person is all about, what they have to offer us, and you can ask the questions, and then I'll ask them during the interview, which I'll post the day after I do the interview. I'm trying to make that every Monday. A long time ago, me and Matthew came up with this every Monday thing, and hence my Monday releases. But it's hard to do on schedule, especially when I'm not getting paid for it. So this is from my gift to all of you, I guess, if it's considered a gift. Anyway, we're gonna go and look at today. We're gonna look at some of the ancient tablets that have been found all over the world, and the interesting part of this whole thing is some of the translations are different than from translator to translator. And now, if that is the case, I don't know how much we can trust in the actual translations of these tablets. They're good. I mean, they're doing good just to get a word out, as far as I can tell. But anyway, let's start with some of these tablet finds. I'm going to show you a screenshot with YouTube, and the actual author of that video will be displayed, so they can all calm their jets about copyright issues and stuff. I don't expect that they'll be able to touch me the way I'm doing it now. So let us proceed, and we'll get on with the first video right now. Hi folks, Bill Peters here. Now we got this new little screen capture thing we're going to try. What we're looking at here is a Beyond Science. It's a great science channel. Check it out. There's a guy named Chin that is the host, and we're about to meet him. Anyway, they're talking about the 2,300-year-old Babylonian tablet. And take a look at this and see what you think.
Long known that ancient Babylonians were really good at math and astronomy, but we are still trying to figure out exactly how good. I mean, they understood the Pythagorean theorem about 1,000 years before Pythagoras was even born, and recorded the passage of Halley's Comet around 164 BC. So it shouldn't be too surprising that newly decoded markings on a small clay tablet dating back 2,000 years has revealed that the ancient Babylonian astronomers used sophisticated geometrical principles to track the path of the planet Jupiter more than 1,400 years before Europeans were believed to have devised the mathematical technique. Hey guys, it's Mikey Chen. The tablet, just a few inches tall and wide, showcases a form of pre-calculus that could be used to describe the motion of Jupiter across the sky in relation to the stars. Scientists had believed the mathematical method had been developed by scholars in Europe in the 14th century, but the tablet, dated between 350 BC, predates the European model by around 1500 years. This means that these ancient astronomers had not only figured out how to predict Jupiter's path more than 1,000 years before the first telescopes existed, but were using mathematical techniques that would form the foundations of modern calculus as we now know it. This is, of course, a big discovery. The tablet is one out of hundreds that were excavated during the 19th century. Anthropologists and archaeologists have been working for more than 100 years trying to decode all of them. Professor Matthew Alsendriver, a researcher in the history of ancient science who deciphered the markings, said the tablets have redefined the history books. He says that the thoroughly modern concept of graphing velocity over time is clearly at play on the ancient clay. Additionally, 4 other tablets with mathematical calculations on them clearly show that the Babylonian mathematicians and astronomers at the time understood how to read such a graph, with the area under the curve representing distance traveled. The markings depict measurements made to track Jupiter as it moved along the horizon, calculating the planet's position at 60 days and then at 120 days. From this, it appears that the Babylonians used geometrical calculations based on a trapezoid, a 4-sided shape in which the top and bottom lines are parallel. What makes the findings surprising is that it had previously been thought that Babylonian astronomers only used arithmetical concepts and not geometry. Professor Alsendriver says he's unsure as to why these calculations were used in this way, as the concept of making plots of something against time would have been an abstract one. He said the importance of the findings is that these tablets prove that the Babylonians were using geometry in a way that anticipated how we describe and compute motions nowadays. Any book on history of math and physics will tell you this type of graph velocity against time was invented around 1350 in the Middle Ages. We now know the Babylonians already invented it.
Okay, so there's the Sumerian, one of the Sumerian tablets. Let's look at some other ones that were found as well. Very interesting stuff. I like this Michael Chin guy. He's a real good video tuber. He does a hell of a job. They got some good backgrounds. They do a nice professional broadcast, unlike myself. Working on it though. So anyway, let's go on to the next tablet and our collection of tablets and see what that's all about. Okay, so since we are talking about ancient tablets and finds and new stuff, well, it wouldn't be complete without a UFO or a U.S. cover-up of ancient artifacts found in Iraq when we took over Iraq. So I got this this video here put out by the Unknown YouTube channel. You can check them out. But check out what they're reporting on. It's pretty good stuff. Check this out.
On or about June 12, 2006, during a routine patrol of ancient sites in southern Iraq, members of the U.S. Army's 260th Quartermaster Battalion made what some are calling the greatest archaeological find of all time. Quickly transferred to nearby Talil Air Base, the find was brought to London, where a panel of Near Eastern scholars and linguists were assembled to analyze it. Almost 2 years later, many panel members are upset. They say the U.S. and British governments have reneged on an agreement to share the discovery with the world.
Uh-oh.
Despite the worst consequences possible, some panel members are talking.
Here we go.
The find, which they call extraordinary, and having considerable repercussions for many universally held beliefs, is described as an oblong copper box containing several broken tablets written in Sumerian.
Here they come again.
Largely unreadable, one fragment scholars have translated tells the story of Ziusudra, the antediluvian Noah. In the surviving 64 lines, Ziusudra warns of another deluge, and reference is made to plans for another ark, a craft intended to aid human colonization of Nibiru, a planet whose orbit brings it in the vicinity of Uranus every 3,500 years.
I contest that number.
Nibiru will again orbit past Uranus in the year 2012.
Obviously, they were wrong.
Insiders say the US and British governments are spending millions on restoration technologies, and the discovery has set off a frantic search for more tablets. Evidence on the ground supports these claims.
That's if ISIS doesn't get it first.
As of mid-March 2008, 6 copies of the translation have surfaced in various cities around the world: Paris, Amsterdam, Madrid, Aleppo, Karachi, and Tangier.
What stupid places to release such a thing? This is ridiculous. So,
In accord with their wishes, the throne and kingship had been lowered from the heavens. Rights were perfected. Divine ordinances were exalted. In pure places 5 cities were founded, the first being Eridu, the second Nibiru. The rock was the third, and Sippar the fourth. The 5th city was Sharupik, of which I, Ziusudra, was king. These were the cult centers. These 5 cities were designated cult centers. A clamor came from within the cult centers, a clamor that disturbed the gods. After the cities were destroyed, the cult centers were destroyed. After the deluge, the flood sent to cover all the land, the destroyer of life. And I, Ziusudra, on the high peak of Namush, arranged 7 and 7 cult vessels, heaped with reeds, cedar, and myrtle, and brought the offering to the summit to scatter the incense in every direction. And the gods smelled the sweet fragrance.
Yeah,
they smelled the
sure
sweet
they did.
fragrance and clustered around the offering like flies. Belit Ali arrived. She held up in the air the great fly ornament Anu had made in Hidarter. I swear by this precious necklace of lapis, I shall be mindful of these days and never forget, not ever. When Enlil arrived, my wife and I joined the assembly of gods. He touched my brow and her brow, saying, "Hitherto, Ziusudra has been a human being. Now he shall be known as Utnapishtim, and he and his wife shall become like us gods." Then we were taken far away. To the source of the great rivers we were taken, to the Gihon, Kishon, the Tigris, and Euphrates. In that faraway place we dwell. There, at the source of the 4 mighty rivers we dwell. Upon our arrival there, at the place beyond all lands, Enlil said to me, to Utnapishtim, he did say, "You, the distant one, shall now do your Lord Yah's work. Once wisdom came from a thin reed wall, you will do the like. Take directions for another, a whole new ship. Inscribe them in tablets of lapis lazuli. Inscribe them on the appointed tablets. Then lay them inside a copper box upon reeds and branches of cedar and myrtle. Transfer knowledge, share wealth, store them safe, far away, in the city of the mightiest hero of all, who saw what was secret and revealed what was hidden. Inspect the foundations set forth by 7 masters with masonry of fire kiln brick. See how its facing gleams like copper in the sun? Climb the stone staircase. Look out at the land it encloses. Admire the gardens, shops, and temples, all of the magnificent places. Identify the cornerstone. Look underneath. Now at that time, in those days, the world was still anew. When Enlil brought forth the tablets, the lands had only just dried. Reed hut, wall, wall. Reed hut, hearken, wall, reflect. Tear down house, build ship. Give up possessions, seek life. Forswear worldly goods, keep the soul alive. A new storm looms, yet rains do not squall. Another deluge falls, again, rushing over the lands. Heed warning and prepare your family's
Over and
cause.
over, just like we...
Transplant joy of human hearts. Take refuge in Nibiru's embrace, the return of light in the firmament of the heavens. It has been...
That's interesting stuff. Some of it I feel was stupid, but I'm sure you did too. Anyway, let's look at one last thing, and we'll call the show a show.
All right, here we go.
Okay, no story would be complete without talking about Mu and some of the other ancient tablets which they describe different things, mostly Sumer. But let's take a look at this video from this video channel here on YouTube and see what they say about it. Just for the record, there wasn't many creation stories. There was 4 that said that we were shapeless beings of light, just for the record. Okay, here's a common misconception. I mean, of course, as with all of this stuff, it's all theory based on some empirical facts. The main one being is that there is much evidence to suggest that mankind is over 140 million years old, and that in addition to that little tidbit, they were destroyed, technologically destroyed, over and over through time, in that millions of years. Now, I'm not the only one that believes this. There's a ton of other people that will believe the same as me as far as the longevity of mankind. Mankind likely was brought here in some form or another, different time periods. And yes, were the Sumerians genetically altered? Yes, they were. However, they were not the first intelligent beings. They were just the intelligent beings in the African continent that were manipulated by what they call the Anunnaki. This was a local event, not a worldwide event. This is where people get so confused and so caught up in their own world that they don't see the obvious factor here. There's no empirical evidence to suggest that these people represent the whole of mankind. There's nothing there to suggest this. So when people talk about the Sumerians and Anunnaki, blah blah blah, they're assuming that the Anunnaki were the only race that came to this planet, and that's not true. And I think we all know that. So what has to happen is people have to realize that these time periods represented only one event for one time period, and there were hundreds of events that happened. If the Anunnaki were here doing all this crap, how did 200,000 cities with 200,000 people show up in North America full of giants? There's not enough time for all this to happen. The races, the different races, say Asian and Caucasian and Native American, and regardless of what they find in their blood from crossbreeding, it really doesn't make up for the fact that there are so many different races in such a short amount of period of time. It is my contention that the reptilians and the giants evolved with the dinosaurs. one or the other. I don't believe the reptilians. I believe the reptilians were actually indigenous to Earth originally, and I mean, figure it out. Figure it out. The time period involved with how many years the dinosaurs were around. If you look in Google and you look at a timeline, you see this huge 250 million year spread where the dinosaurs reigned. Well, in that time period, you don't think intelligent life would evolve in some manner? It's not feasible. So I contend that the reptilians were in cave dwellers and pretty much stayed there and developed their own technology and their own metals and their own everything. And then at some point, it seems that human life was brought to this planet in the form of, say, another race, Asian or white or whatever. Maybe the tall whites brought the Nordics. I have to kill my dog again. Blue, stop. So let's look at a little more of this this little video. One thing I hate about a lot of these YouTube videos, the creators, they think they're making some kind of crazy point, and you know, I really can't say much. They get a lot more hits than I do. Yeah, so this is a rehash of all the Sumerian legends. Looks like this person is claiming that Sumerians were the only race that was developed. Let's take a look. Okay, Potolo, Sirius B. This should be interesting. Let's take a look at what they say about Sirius B. So, what we've determined is that these ancient civilizations were doing tracking of planets, and they knew that something was up. Um, with that in mind, I'm going to skip to a different video because it's, first of all, this particular person, I hate the fact that they get all theatrical with the music and blah blah blah, and that bugs me sometimes, especially when they put it to the levels they did there. And anyone that doesn't talk about their own presentation is basically, you know, not, they're just basically reading something and typing in the words instead of putting in their own. Let's look at another Anunnaki shocking truth video. Let's take a look at this one. It is it's this guy here. He usually does all right. I mean, I've watched a bunch of his stuff. I'm not a subscriber, but let's take a look here. What do we got? Yeah.
Archaeologists, historians tell us about extinct civilizations, countries and cultures, for example Sumerian, Maya, Egypt, ancient Rome. Unfortunately, we do not care about their experience, and that's a pity. Not to realize the nature of civilizations, religions and cultures gone means to unnecessarily expose humanity to same hazards. Information about snakes, dragons and other reptiles first appeared about 10,000 years ago. Dragon or snake was one of the main heroes who personified God in the art of Egyptians, Indians, Aztecs, Maya, natives of Australia, China, and some African countries. Sumerian sources tell us about Anunnaks. They were considered gods from another planet who brought advanced knowledge to the Earth. Anunnaks crossed human beings, and hybrid race of man-reptile arose as a result. Ancient sources report that these human
Reptilians had big
are
boobs.
genetic hybrids of selected men and reptiles. Such genetic hybrids were said to be kings of the northern Middle East in the advanced countries of Sumer, Babylon, and Egypt. Reptile and their hybrid blood contain more copper, which gives green-blue color after oxidation. Probably this is the reason for assertion that social elite's blood is
Blue
blue.
bloods.
There is an opinion that for reptile men it is hard to preserve a human appearance, and that is why they have to marry only their own kind, rarely letting some fresh human blood. Remember, most of the royal persons make families only with people from their own rank, not allowing unions with commoners. Moreover, consumption of human hormones, flesh and blood, helps half-reptiles maintain human shape. Maybe that is why cannibalism and bloody sacrifices still exist on the earth.
I'm not so sure that's correct. I don't believe that's why all the rights were blood rights.
I was shaken by Mexico truncated pyramids I visited. I was really shocked with discovery of Maya civilization's black side, cannibalism, sacrifices, bloodletting rituals, and worship of death, which is hardly recognized in our Russian information field. Temples where priests served ferocious services were built on the top of truncated pyramids. They worshipped flying snake deity. Doesn't it remind you dragon from fairy tales on the other side of the earth? Maya tried really hard to propitiate their god, and were very scared to leave him hungry. The god ate souls.
Some of the conclusions I totally
The
disagree
salesman
with.
named Chuck Moore was to burn a sacrificed man heart, releasing a column of smoke for the god feathered serpent. Mayan priests with sharp obsidian knives opened up a victim's chest between ribs and tore out the heart by hands.
Okay, well, we got quite a little bit of that. I have a hard time connecting Maya with the blue blood stuff, reptilian related stuff. I don't think that has much to do with each other. When you're looking at these ancient sites and different articles and videos, it's important to remember that each of these things happened at far different time periods. The odds of it all being connected are pretty low. It may have been connected at some level with certain cultures, but for people to lump all this in, and they try to relate the white people of the royalty with the Anunnaki and the reptilians, and then all this supposed information that they're giving you about blue bloods and all that, it's speculation. It is not fact. And there's nobody that could tell you that it is. I don't know how it is that people, and in this group as well, there's a lot of you that latch onto this stuff, and you think it's gospel, and that is not even close to the truth. So it's fine to believe in something. If you believe it, great. But don't sit there and talk about it like it's fact. It is not fact. It is pure speculation. So I'm a little bit peeved at some of these supposed experts who take an idea and present it as if it is a bona fide fact, when in fact it is not. So I have a big problem with people claiming fact. As many of you know, when I was an administrator of the group, AA Theory, I would call people out. I don't like BS. I don't like people spouting off ridiculous crap that has no basis in science or even in legend sometimes. They'll make up stuff. And those of you who watch a YouTube video and think that it's a done deal, that has to be the truth, I guarantee you there is an error in your judgment. All right, so anyway, that's slice number 53. Next week, I'm hoping we have an interview to show you, and looking forward to doing that. And so, yeah, I will put up a slice inquiry as soon as I nail down the next guest, for sure, and get the questions that you'd like to ask them, and we'll move on from there. I believe our first interview will be with Bruce Fenton on his Australian studies. He's got some great books out. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to be Bruce, but I know he's willing to do an interview with us. So we're going to do that at some point, and we'll see you then. Take care, folks, and thanks for watching another slice. Make sure you check out Clarence Mitchell on his Blog Talk Radio. Kimberly Wright on her X-Files chat right now. I believe it's X-Files. Maybe something else by now. I haven't been paying attention like I should. And, of course, go and check out Matthew Bowers at MJ12. I'm sorry. I messed it up again, Matthew. I'm so sorry. Check out his site. He's the Chief Administrator at AA Theory on Facebook. You can check out his main website. It's at The Real MJ12 Eyes to the Skies. No, that is not correct. I did it again, Matthew. I'm sorry. www.therealmj12eyes-to-the-sky.com. There you go. See, last time I said plural, and that's not correct. All right. So, all right, folks. We'll have a great week, and we'll see you next week with another edition of The Slice.
And then stand by your side every time you call.